hello everyone. I'll be talking about COVID 19 anxiety. So, the 2019 coronavirus disease was declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization on March 11, 2020. It may actually follow the influenza pandemic of 1918 when it comes to magnitude, which affected about one third of the world population and killed 50 million. To date, there's a total of around 173 million confirmed cases and 3.7 million deaths worldwide, according to the World Health Organization statistics. Control efforts worldwide led to travel bans and restrictions, and here in the Philippines, we were placed on ECQ, MECQ, and now GCQ with the hope of returning to our regular lives as much as possible. We have experienced curfew, checkpoints, and travel restrictions. Face to face school activities were suspended indefinitely, so people were forced to stay in their homes. Previous disease outbreaks would generally cause fear to the public and induce fear related behaviors and anxiety. So, with COVID 19 still plaguing the world, there are so many uncertainties with the disease with the possibility of a fatal outcome. Infection or death of family and friends could worsen the overall mental health well being of an individual. Last year, we are seeing just death statistics. But right now, these deaths are hitting closer to home. There's not a day that I have not sent condolences to family and friends. So if you feel anxious about the COVID 19, you're not alone. It has had ripple effects into almost every aspect of our lives. It affected the way we live every day. So much has changed in such a short time. There's a study by T et al. Last 2020. It indicated that during the first months of the virus, 16.3% showed moderate to severe psychological impact, 28.8% reported moderate to severe anxiety symptoms, and 13.4% to moderate to severe stress signals. There's also a study by UNICEF that 30% of households reported that someone in their household had developed mental health symptoms. Like the global scale, some causes were, of course, the fear of the pandemic, the long isolation, and threats to job security, as widespread unemployment have been factors. Another would be the decline of the economy that has been a topic for the country, which, because of the pandemic, rose to a 17.7% unemployment rate, accounting to 7.3 million Filipinos losing their jobs. A study by Corpus said that there's been a 200% increase actually in suicide prevention and crisis helpline activity since April 2020. Lastly, in the Philippines, the National Center for Mental Health has announced a notable increase in monthly hotline calls, with numbers rising from 80 calls pre-pandemic, pre-lockdown, to nearly 400. So with these statistics, it's natural to feel anxiety when we are faced with a crisis, the unknown, or sudden change. It's a normal reaction to feel the need for safety, certainty, predictability, and control. Anxiety is a normal emotion and serves as a signal to pay attention so we can protect ourselves. Anxiety alerts us. It signals our brain to say, hey, something is wrong. Try to adapt. It triggers our fight or flight response. But when we are overwhelmed by anxiety, it sometimes can do more harm than good. So, anxiety at a certain point is good, but it's a future oriented state wherein you are fearing the worst, that it may not happen. It becomes irrational when it leads toward an anxiety disorder. So I'll be sharing some tips on how to handle stress and anxiety should you feel that you are overwhelmed with the COVID 19 situation. So, first is remind yourself of what is within your control. Anxiety often comes from worries over uncertainty. So take note of factors within your control, such as your social distancing or making a move to schedule your vaccination. Second is notice, label, and accept your emotions. It's really important to really determine your emotions, and sometimes it's not being taught in school. Is it really fear? Is it stress? Is it anxiety? By determining which particular emotion you are feeling, then you could then address it. So when you feel anxious, you could quietly say to yourself, okay, here's my anxiety again. Just putting a label on what we feel helps reduce our concern. Next is practice positive emotions. If we practice worry or anxiousness, we become skilled at worrying and being anxious. If we practice anger and fear, then we develop these capacities as well, consciously or unconsciously, intentionally or not. So if we practice positive emotion, then our brain becomes more adept and capable of these functions as well. Remember that whatever you put in your thoughts would have a direct relationship on how you feel, and how you feel would determine your behavior. So it's very important to be conscious on your thought patterns. Next is practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is being in the here and now. So if you're someone who has anxiety or is anxious on the future state, practicing mindfulness will give you acceptance on your moment to moment experience. So, when was the last time you took time for things like chewing and savoring your food, the wind touching your face, or feeling the heat of the sun? There's a famous psychologist called Viktor Frankl. He said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In this space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our power and freedom. So it's that split second. Will I react to this? Will I be scared? Will I be anxious with the situation? So it's very important in decision making. With practice, you can improve your ability to choose your responses. With being mindful, remember that the current situation will change, and we need to accept some things until the tide shifts. And lastly, enhance your positive coping skills. Look for support groups. Now, with the new normal and we have limited interactions, you could explore technology. Look for online support groups. Find a new hobby. During the pandemic, a lot have become plantitos, plantitas, and had a newfound hobby on taking care of plants. So find your new you in this new normal, because this is the only way we could adapt. And hopefully your anxiety would be settled, and things would fall into place. So thank you very much, and I hope that I've been helpful in managing your anxiety. Thank you.